Hey, Ken Semler, how are you, my friend?
Doing great, man. How are you, Dave?
Good. Listen, thanks so much for coming on the show today for the expert interview. If you're just tuning in, we got Ken Semler from Impresa Modular Franchising, Impresa Modular Homes. Ken, you and I have been in this business for a long time. I think actually you've been in the business longer than myself. So this is going to be a lot of fun to talk about what's been happening in the world of modular in general. Your license is it 50 states?
Well, it's 42, licensed, registered, certified.
In
We would be in the
42
other ones if
states.
somebody went to buy a house. We'll
Yeah.
get licensed there.
Yeah. And I think what's so interesting about you, Ken, is you're building all over this country. And we know just from our conversation, and we're going to share some of this today, is how different it is to build in every part of the country. And you think it's the same, but it's really not.
It's really not.
Yeah. So why don't we do a quick introduction, Ken? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into modular and where you are today.
Well, I'm Ken Semler, and like Dave said, Impresa Modular. I started out in the industry really as a remodeler rehabber. Got into it, back in the 2000s time frame, and really I started having people ask me to build a house, and modular was the way to go. My team, my crew had a remodeling mentality, and that fit very well in with modular construction because the factory was doing the heavy lifting, and our crew could come in and really do the finished button up and understood the process. But that brought me into modular. After the Great Recession came about, we really took advantage of the opportunity. Where do we go? Because we were really starting with a blank slate as a company. And so we had created this website back then. It was Express Modular, and we started growing it. We took over the internet for modular homes. If you couldn't Google modular homes in any state or any location, we didn't come in number 1, 2, or 3. We grew across the country. I got to be licensed in 42 states. I really take an active role in the leadership of the industry. I mean, I have a passion for our company, but I have a huge passion for this industry itself. I want to see it grow. I want to see it flourish. I think it's a great opportunity. I'm the past chair of the Building Systems Council within the National Association of Home Builders. I'm currently the treasurer of the Modular Home Builders Association. I'm the national delegate for my local home builders association. I currently sit on the board of the 55 plus. I really have two passions: high performance construction and 55 plus building. And so a lot of the things we do really focus on that. And the things we'll probably talk about today is we started Impresa Modular franchising that we rolled out at the Builder Show in January of this year. So that pretty much sums up how we've got to where we are today.
Well, that's not a lot at all, Ken. I mean, really. I mean, how many different things do you have? I mean, I think it's absolutely awesome. One, not only are you, a national builder, but you're involved in all the organizations to make offsite construction overall a better place to be for modular, panelized, SIPs, concrete, whatever the case is. Like you said, you're the immediate past chair of the Building Systems Council, which is awesome. Followed up by good old Tiffany McCall, which we love, and that you're so involved in understanding what the market looks like on a national level versus somebody who's only worked in a regional level in the industry. So I think one of the big things that came out recently was the McKinsey report. And you and I were talking a little bit about this, and the McKinsey report was very favorable towards modular and offsite construction in all the comments that it has. It'd be interesting to kind of get your viewpoint on what you felt that COVID's impact has had and what's the impact it's had on the modular industry, along with what this McKinsey report is saying.
Well, and I think, the McKinsey report really, covered quite a big area. They took the whole thing into consideration. I think some of the big things that I've been worried about actually is, in past, we'll call it a recession. This COVID thing basically is turning us into a recession. And every time we've had a recession, the industry really was scared and ran back to what it knew. And every time it would try to introduce new technologies, it ran back to safety. It ran back to traditional building methods. And this time, I think it scared everybody, but I hate to say with the tragedy of COVID, it's actually been a good opportunity for off-site construction to finally all these new building technologies. People are seeing it as kind of the savior, the way to go, where we've got to go. They know the changes happen. So, the McKinsey report wants to call it the new normal, but I don't think we're going to see what I would call normal for years, because I think the wheels of change have been kicked off, and we're just going to ride it to see where it ends.
Yeah, sure. So do you think that, the new normal, I like how it says, but it's kind of been the normal for us for 20 plus years. So that's a funny comment. I think moving forward though, are you going to see the reason for the increase in offsite construction because of the trade labor? Is that the number one driver? What are you seeing across the country?
Well, I see it. For the last 6 years or so, you couldn't go to a conference, and that wasn't the number one thing. It's always been labor. Second thing was cost, and now we're seeing what we do with what we're doing is time to deliver. Modular offsite has been. We also, the second thing is productivity. When we do have that labor, it's the construction is the lowest the lowest industry for production efficiency, and then that's got to change. But we're in I guess an industry that doesn't change quickly. Yeah. So it's figuring out how we take the technology, and in our lifetimes, Dave, I mean, like you say, we've been at it for a lot of years, and we finally see, I think, at the tipping point that offsite's is there. But now, geographic locations, industry, whether it's production builders, custom builders, developer, this industry is just so huge. I don't think anybody understands the magnitude of the difference in construction across the country. So it's going to take a while. It's going to be a long time.
Well, touching on technology, interestingly enough, I mean, you're already doing that. You took over the internet. You're a web-based, right? Beginning web-based sales structure, which doesn't happen in our industry the way you're doing it. You've partnered with big architectural design, web design companies. So, I don't want to turn this into a sales pitch on that, but for Impresa, but at the same time, what you're doing from a technological standpoint, I think a lot of people could learn from.
Well, we started out just really getting on the internet. Obviously, as an individual company, we grew, and the way we did that was through technology. And you got to keep in mind, there was a great stat that they had out. It was Hanley Wood had put out, and I think the quote is that the top 10 builders do 30% of the work in the industry, the housing. The top 100 builders do 50%. The top 4,000 builders do like 87% of the construction of homes in this industry. And yet they say there's 30,000 bona fide builders. So that means there's 26,000 builders fighting for 13% of the market. And the only way to get your unfair portion of that is to own technology today. And so when we started with Impresa Modular, our goal was to own the internet, get big enough, invest in a website. And I tell people today we were the first social distancing website that was out there for modular home sales, because you can do everything over the internet. The technology's grown, and that's really what led us to get into Impresa Modular franchising, that and a few other things. Yeah. So
yeah. No, so all right. So now we're in Impresa Modular franchising. You opened up shop at the International Builders Show, so to speak, right? That was a big launch.
It's a big rollout.
And then you were kind of surprised of who actually was coming to see you. And I think this is a valuable thing to talk about. You want to elaborate on what surprised you the most at IBS?
Well, at IBS, we did, that was our big rollout. We had a booth, and I guess there's two aspects. Is you and I both speak at the International Builder Show and have sessions, and not just our booth, but at the sessions is we had everything we did on offsite this year. I know every session I spoke at was a button every seat or standing room only. I mean, the interest was off the chart. But it wasn't just for builders. Developers have now found it. So I think developers, when they got out onto the show floor looking for opportunities, about 50% of the traffic coming to our booth was developer/investor type groups and individuals, not just builders trying to find a better way. I mean, there's a huge interest in offsite. People are looking to get projects done. And, going back to your comment earlier about the labor, the builders, the labor just isn't there. Even now, now that here we are post-COVID and or semi-post-COVID, we're coming out of it, and it hasn't changed. We don't have the right labor available.
Sure. Well, I mean, even the factories are struggling with the right labor.
Right. I mean, there's factories that capacity in the industry still, we're not anywhere near reaching capacity. Now, if everybody that wanted to do modular came on board, there would not be near enough capacity, but we're still not at capacity yet. And that's primarily driven by, just like you say, the labor shortage for the factories themselves.
So what do you see is going to help solve the labor shortage? Is it going to be technology?
I think it's going to be a number of things. I mean, I don't think any one thing is going to save the industry or improve the industry. I think it's bringing in what's amazing to me, and I'm a big proponent of LinkedIn. Obviously, you and I both work on LinkedIn, but I really do try to, when I get a connection and I try to communicate and I have chats with people, and I'm really amazed at the amount of people who are out there working on it now. I learn a lot. There's individuals with the software that's coming, like you say, for technology. Obviously, to fund the technology and do it, it takes money. So there's investors coming in. Mm-hmm. There's people with projects. There's developers who have ready projects to go to use the technology on. There's more people looking to build factories, whether it's developers, investors, people that have the money, that see this industry as a great opportunity to invest. So I don't think it's just going to be technology. I think it's going to be a combination of many things coming together over time.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that, but I do think, we got to get the youth interested in swinging a hammer again, mm-hmm. right? That's the tough part.
I'm a big proponent. Through my local HBA, they do amazing things with getting local people, the local junior colleges involved in the trades again.
Yeah, for sure. So listen, everybody, if you are just joining us, we have Ken Semler on from Impresa Modular Franchising. I'm Dave Cooper. We are live, Ken, on 3 locations: YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn Live now. So quite a bit has changed since IBS, which is a lot of fun. And if you have comments or you have questions for Ken, now is the time to start putting them in the comments section, and we will put those up periodically as we go through this. And most importantly, so we can grow offsite construction, please like and share this video right now. And also please subscribe to our YouTube channel, because that houses all of our videos. So people can go back and watch these at a later time, because I realize that not everybody has an hour to spend with me every single day, even though I'd love it if they could. All right, Ken, let's before we take some comments here and some hellos, let's talk about this whole production, builder thing, the new home builder. In fact, I made a little slide, right? Diversity of construction in the U.S. production builders versus custom builders versus multifamily and commercial builders. And I think let's take it one by one, and let's talk about first where we start, right? Which is a lot of custom residential building throughout the country. Mm-hmm. Are you seeing a shift in site builders that are doing custom one-off, small subdivisions, what have you, towards offsite modular construction right now?
Well, I'm seeing a lot of people that are interested in it, but again, we're at that early stage, and people who do it the way they've currently done it struggle with the move. So I see people interested in it, but it gets back actually to one of the reasons we created Impresa Modular Franchising is there's no training on it. There's no Modular 101 class. There's no buddy system, mentoring system. Mm-hmm. And so there's just, there's no training, which I think is a big impediment to the industry. And the factories aren't really going after the new custom home builder. So while I think there's interest, I talk to people that have been reading about it, learning about it. They really, on the custom side, are struggling to learn where they step their foot into it. How do they get into it? And I think as an industry, we think we've given them an easy way. We talk about it, but there's just no take them by the hand. This is what you have to do, and this is how you're successful in your first project.
Right. Well, I mean, this is another innovative thing that you guys have done. I mean, because we've talked about this for years and years and years. Why do the factories not have a training program for new builders?
Well, I mean, I think there's several answers to that, Dave. One is the industry is very, it's agnostic. Is over the years, especially since the Great Recession, builders that are in the industry aren't just working with one factory. So one factory doesn't want to train a builder to go off and be just go purchase from another builder or another factory. But I also think that there's no training out there from anybody, and that the person, the factory isn't the right person to train anyway. I mean, I think what's lost on a lot of people is the factory is a manufacturer. It's not a builder. What we've done is we've taken and turned construction into a manufacturing process, and we're getting the efficiencies of that construction process as a manufacturer. But if I called up most of my, if I don't sound bad to any of my factories, but if I called up a lot of my factory reps and asked them where to place the sill plate on a foundation, do we hold it to the inside or the outside? I venture to say a couple of them would say, "What's a sill plate?" And so there's just not the support from the factories. And again, I don't expect it. I don't think that's where it needs to come from. Let them do what they do very well. That's what we want them to do. But we now, not to do the plug, but for Impresa Modular franchising, but that's what we've done in the industry. We've taken our experience across the country. We've got the training, and we're able to bring people in and combine it with our brand to give them success up front, because we know we give them the training that's not available elsewhere. We make them successful in their first projects.
All right. So I'm bringing out my soapbox, Ken. I'm going to go back to the first two comments about the factory's mindset. Mm-hmm. I could understand not wanting to train people because you're worried about them leaving if we were 99% of the industry. Mm-hmm. But being that we're only 4%, 5%, and that's all of offsite, not just modular or volumetric, it makes absolutely no sense to me why you wouldn't want to train them. And second of all, if the factories were doing all the right things as well and the quality was coming out the door, there's no reason people should be leaving to go to other factories. I mean, we forget the customer experience, and the builder in this instance to the factory is the customer. Mm-hmm. And I know why they do it, but I don't agree with it. I think to me it's very backwoods thinking.
Well, and I agree with you and why it should, because it's a relationship based business, and I go with the factories and I work with the factories, us personally, our company, that support us the best. And if you don't support us the best, you may get orders, but not as many orders as that factory that's supporting us and making it easier for us to sell more homes.
Right. So if you're listening to your factory, start helping your builders. Start helping Ken. Whatever. I think it'll be an eye-opening experience, I think, for them if they actually went that extra mile. So, Ken, let's just do a couple quick shout outs here. We say good morning from Rick Hawkins. Good morning, Rick. Hope you are well.
Hey, good, Rick. So
we got Joel Hutchinson. Good morning, all. Great work, Ken. Do you know Joel?
Joel's a great innovator in this industry. He's one of those guys that I was talking about earlier, the guy that's going to change some things.
Yeah, for sure. No, I 100% agree with that. All right, Rick Hawkins, Ken definitely understood early the value of internet and technology intersections to promote modular integration to home building. Well, there you go. There's a plug from Rick. Good job, Rick.
The $2 worked.
All right. Alistair, the builders are not aligned with factories and vice versa yet. Loyalty both ways is needed. Hence, the franchise module directing the traffic works. Do you know Alistair?
I do not know him personally.
Yep. So Alistair is over in Vietnam. They do a lot of modular and offsite over in Vietnam. I think Australia and some other places too. He always corrects me in the comments when I mess it up. So I love it. Really got a good head on his shoulders. He always has great things to say. So just a couple quick shout outs before we jump into the next section here. All right. So we harped on the factories. Alistair, I think's point is very, very true. I think there is more collaboration and partnership required to do those things. Go ahead. You got something?
Well, I was just going to say, and I think one of the things we got to take from the industry, and you talk about the thing that cuts both ways, is historically when the factories have always felt when they got too aligned with their builders and something went wrong, that the customer would go after the factory, not just the builder. And so they've struggled. They've tried to find that bright line to say we are a vendor to the builder, and that trying to create that bright line, it cut off a lot of opportunities for that training, because then that they thought that would make them more liable. And I think that's a decision that they've made. And so again, that's when we started franchising and looking for the model. That's why we did what we did.
Well, but that's why most successful businesses start, because there's a hole somewhere that needs to be met.
Right. That's exactly right, David. You nailed it.
Yes. 2 for 2 today. I love it. All right. All right. So let's get in. So we talked about the custom builder. Let's talk about production builders now, because you're learning something even since IBS with the production builders. Is modular a solution for production builders in today's atmosphere?
So this is a big broad topic. It is I sit down, I go to the big events that it may be the Home Innovations Alliance, and invariably I'll be sitting down at lunch with a division president or vice president from one of the top 10 builders, and they'll ask, what do you do? And I'll say, well, I do modular construction, and kind of get that look like, oh, you do modular. It's kind of the weird thought. And when they start talking about volumetric construction, one of their comments are, well, you're just shipping air. How do you cost effectively ship air? And what I always say is, well, I'm shipping finished air. And they kind of look at me with their head tilted. They don't get it. And it's but what I don't think the industry has figured out is I'm shipping the labor along with the material. So when it comes, I've delivered the labor to install the paint, not just the paint. I've delivered the labor to install the kitchen, not just the kitchen. Right. But I think production builders, we have a secondary issue is 2/3, 3/4, you pick the number, it's very high, of production builders are doing slab on grade. And in their mind, they've put the foundation in and the first floor of the home. As a volumetric builder, I need that floor to support those finished bathrooms and finished kitchens, which are the most expensive areas of the house, or the volumetric module. And so I think, and it's, there's people that, Joel's one of those people that was on earlier, commented, is I think the only way it's going to work for production builders is if somebody, it doesn't exist out there to my knowledge, if somebody starts taking kitchens, starts taking bathrooms, combines with a finished panelized group, and really delivers a house. Now you're going to have to modify the foundation, but if you can modularize the two most expensive rooms of the house and ship those, and then fit them on a foundation, surround it with a closed cell panel, I think that's probably the hybrid approach that might maybe get some production builders really looking at volume, because it won't be volumetric at that point, just a few specific rooms. But it'll be a hybrid approach. I don't think production builders will ever use true volumetric construction. They care too much about price and not about speed. Until they can start monetizing the value of speed, which I don't see happening soon, they care that they can do a house from foundation to ridge vent at $77 a square foot. You can't beat that price, period. They've got it down to a science.
Yeah. And well, they got buying power. They have everything that comes with that.
Right,
sure.
Exactly.
So you think they may, if they do anything, incorporate bath pods, kitchen pods, things
and panelization, and it'll be a hybrid approach. So it'll be modular, that's how I think they'll enter modular. It won't be the way you and I are doing it.
So why not, when they build these big production, these big production neighborhoods, where they have 1,000 homes or 500 homes or whatever, why not use the rec center as a temporary modular factory? I mean, isn't it kind of the same thing? Couldn't they do that, step and repeat, and build their own mods right on site?
And I think, it was the one Canadian company that did that and moved to Phoenix, and they stopped. And I'm not going to pretend to understand why, but I think people are going to start trying to do that again. A pop-up factory. I mean, they can put up an agricultural building tent that's huge, 100,000 square foot type building under a tent if they need to, and move it and set up. I think we're going to see a lot of experimenting over the coming years. Again, there's a lot of money that's trying to find its way into this industry. It's a hot industry, and it's what Michael Jordan says: you have to fail your way to success. I think we're going to see a lot of companies start up and fail as we start figuring out the right way to do it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we hit the production builders, we hit the custom home builder, multifamily and commercial. Now that's a different beast.
Mm-hmm. And that's because you're doing the same thing over and over. Very much fits into a box. I mean, a hotel room on either end and a hallway in the middle, and you can take it. I mean, we can take it down to the FF&E. The furniture, the finishings, furniture, equipment. The factory's actually putting in the beds, the dressers, the wardrobes, the desks. They're finishing those bedrooms to where all they have to do is walk in with white booties on and put the linens on, and that's being done in the factory. And, Marriott, when they opened that door, I think they did a big thing for the industry. And if Marriott, now COVID's changed the hospitality industry now, but I think multifamily's hot. And, we haven't got to that part of, a conversation yet. But I think, the industry is changing. The build to rent market, where they're actually valuing speed. If I can get a house finished 2 months sooner and can get it productive, Now, modular has a value. If I could, 2 more months of operational income, there's the, housing as a service, a home as a service type things coming out now. People are trying to look at, what can modular do with that? There are lots of opportunities out there in that multifamily commercial modular side, to really drive. But the big thing is now you have to integrate that into factories. I think a lot of what people haven't thought about is, and I see this happen with a lot of factories, is how do I take a 90 box project, 120 box project,
right,
and a residential factory and take 3 months of production, 2 months of production, and then keep my builders happy. These factories have a Herculean task trying to figure out production, and try to do commercial or multifamily.
Well, that's it. I mean, I had the chance to interview, the modular folks that are running the show for Marriott hotels. And their biggest issue is finding the factories produce what they need to produce, because they have so much work. But like you said, the factories are on the line between that commercial side of it and the residential builder side. But with that said, I think there's factories coming online that are going to service the commercial side.
Right. I mean, like I say, money's trying to find its way into the industry.
Yeah.
And if you can balance production, because the big thing is you get a 90 box project or 120 box, next one better be there. And if it doesn't have its entitlements or doesn't have, final permitting, and it gets delayed, funding changes, how does the factory can't have 2 weeks or 4 weeks of dead time between projects. And that's what, every developer has a hot project, but that hot project is 18 months away. So how do you balance production when you don't know when your projects are coming in?
Yeah, for sure. No, there is that, but I do think there's a backlog at some of these factories. Some of these factories I'm hearing can be a year, 2 years out on some of the projects they have. When you get into the bigger commercial projects, and like I said, I'm just, just like yourself being in the industry, there's new factories popping up all over this country right now, which is an amazing game changer for our industry.
Right.
Some good, some bad. Some will make us look bad. Some will make us look great. Right.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, that's what I hope. Hopefully they make us look good. Hopefully they succeed. They just learn.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about the growth. What are you going to see as far as growth in your mind with the modular industry? We saw the McKinsey report. We saw kind of what that report was saying. What did you take out of that as far as the growth of offsite and the growth of modular volumetric building?
Well, I mean, I think the overall it's going to grow, period. We know it's going to grow. And I think they projected we could see it being 20 to 30% of the market. But again, how fast? Because we are changing the way you do it. And the biggest, producing industry of the world. I mean, construction is the largest industry, and it takes a lot to change the way we do it. So, I mean, I think we're all on the right path. We've got a lot of interest in it. We've got people trying it. And it's going to be used by many in ways like we were talking earlier. You're going to use bath pods, kitchen pods, and closed panel walls. It's how creative people are going to get with it as quickly as we can. And we're not all going to do it the same. I mean, this is just broadly the offsite construction industry. It's not the modular industry. It's not the panel industry. And I think we're going to see people specialize in it. And that's what's really going to, as we get traction in this, is when we're going to start to see it take off. But we're still in the infancy. I mean, like you say, you and I have been doing it for over 20 years, and we're still in the infancy. We haven't even started to see this be what it can be.
Oh, no, definitely not. But it's definitely coming, especially when you have the McKinsey report such as that comes out, and all of a sudden the phone starts going off, investors trying to figure out which way to go, architects trying to figure out which way to go, how do they get involved, and what have you. I think that all the signs are pointing in the right direction. And like you said earlier, COVID, the 2008 recession was one catapult for our industry. This whole COVID thing right now is, as much as I hate to say it, like you did, it's actually gonna even help offsite even more, because so many people are leaving the industry in general, and it's just it's a better way to build. It makes no sense to keep building the way we've been building. But two, it has to change. Everything has to change at some point. It just really makes me happy that it's finally changing for modular and offsite. It really makes me happy.
Yeah,
we've seen this a long time.
It's one of the things that I see is it's not just the methodologies, how do we get it, but like infill. I think we can use modular, but because the industry hasn't vertically integrated, that's something we haven't talked about. When I say vertically integrated, it's like doing sets, is installation of these modules. There are certain sites that are infill that people say, no, I can't get a modular too. So it doesn't even, well, if you have the right equipment, if you have the right understanding and you're vertically integrated, you know how to get it to even some of these difficult sites. So you open up 20% more sites, 50% more sites in infill. There's more opportunities out there, but because we're fragmented and people, it's the factory, the install crew, the builder, the developer, the project owner, whatever, the opportunities aren't as much there. As we vertically integrate, I think that will actually, and the McKinsey report mentioned that it's going to help the overall industry because, I mean, let's face it, Dave, you and I both know there are so many inefficiencies in the process now. How much could we save if we all work together, from the builder, the factory, and the set crew, to take out inefficiencies in the process? There's 20% savings, 10% savings right off the top of my head, right there.
Well, I mean, that's what we were talking about earlier, the separation and needing, like Alistair said, needing more collaboration amongst everybody. And, vertical integration's a tricky thing. Look at Terra. It's a tricky thing.
Well, but one of the things that I've seen a lot of the people in the industry or coming into the industry do is not take advantage of the expertise in the industry. I mean, I won't name names, but I know there were some of the people that came into the industry, started some well-known companies, and they specifically said, I don't want to have my process contaminated with previous knowledge. I want to start fresh. Well, that whiteboard approach, puts them on the rails. You need to have some of the background and the expertise of the current industry, but yet you need to be forward thinking and be willing to change and get the eraser out and start over where you need to. But I think you got to start from where you're at to go where you need to be. You can't just do a total whiteboard approach to the offsite industry.
Yeah. Well, history teaches us all something.
Right, it does.
Where you learn it, whether it's modular or modern day politics, wherever your stance may be. But,
you have to pay attention to it.
Yeah, for sure. So let's take here's a question for you from Michael Zwiednewski, I think is how you say that. Can you comment on materials, lumber, and wood panels being used to build modular? Do you think that the forest product industry is providing the modular industry with the right materials?
I think so. I'm not a factory owner, so I will caveat it with that. But I know in the factories that I work with, there's a couple things happening. Some of the more mechanized factories, U.S. lumber is, there's a lot of products called out of that, and they end up having to pull that either shipped back or it gets cut into smaller pieces for other uses. One of the things I think is a big future is I start working more closely with some of the newer factories is providing materials, whether that's OSB, dimensional lumber, plywood, gypsum, all those. It's not the right size. If we're mechanically lifting it, we use 4x8 sheets of plywood or OSB because that's what a man can lift. But the products, you can get panels 8x24 and use it because that's the RV industry. That's what they use. So there's enough demand. Why is it we can't get the modular industry to get 10x24 panels and lift because I'm mechanically moving it? How can I reduce material handling, get better? Because now I don't have air leak holes. I can get a better performing house if I don't have as many openings in that finished. I don't have as many fenestrations and openings in that exterior wall. I have a much tighter building envelope.
Well, I mean, that's it. That's actually it. I think the suppliers are going to have a lot to do with the innovation and change in our industry. And if the supplier and the millworks and, the manufacturers of the automated, mechanical systems that are moving these products can all share data, especially in commercial, especially in repetitive type construction. Yeah. You don't need a 4x8 or a 4x10, right? You could have a 10x30. It would actually probably save on shear wall construction, less lumber, right? Because you got solid tie-ins.
Right, and it ties in the gypsum. Why do we have every place I have a joint? I've got a drywall tape. That's one of the big roadblocks in modular construction. It slows it down. If I can do nothing but tape corners because I have no nails or no joints, but again, a 4x8 52-pound sheet of drywall is what a single person can lift, and we're still building manufacturing to what a person on a site can do, not what a factory can do.
Yeah, for sure. So with that said, then if the big production builders aren't going to be looking at offsite modular the way we look at it, how about the panelized world? We talked a little bit about like what Jerry's doing at Integra.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the panelized world is one. It's the great entree for production builders to start into the offsite world. You know, what Jerry's doing at Integra, he's really, you know, he's branded panels, which I got to give him credit. I never thought you could brand panels. Jerry's done an amazing job. But what he's done is really a start. Is he the place where he goes with panels? He's added, you know, floor cassettes. He's doing the roofing. He's getting a production builder to use an offsite and not really disrupting their supply chain, but he's also providing it as a service. He's out there doing the installation and getting it done. I think that's a big, huge that I think most production builders, they want a service, not just a product, and he's delivering it that way. Now, where can he take it? Can he be that catalyst to start adding pods to his product line and team up? I mean, where does this industry go? I mean, with what he's got the end, he's got the notoriety, he's got the brand.
Yeah, for sure. Well, right. So he's definitely taken panelization to the next level. He's added the floor cassettes, the precision, cutting in the access points for the MEPs. I'm not sure if he's adding MEPs or not yet. He might be, but
not that I know of. I know he's got his open floor assemblies now, the cassettes. So
so he's doing that. But you're absolutely right. It kind of makes sense to, you know, have somebody do what Jerry's doing. But does Jerry take it to the next level and become like a super trade? Handle everything from the dirt all the way to, you know, peak of the roof structure.
Again, it goes back to the vertical integration, and people, you know, I won't name names, but I know there's an individual that's the leadership of the NAHB that did panels and loved them, but he only loved them when it was a service. He didn't want to be the installer because he didn't understand. He didn't understand the intricacies. So do we take modular, just like you're saying, Jerry, but does Impresa Modular become a super trade? Are we delivering modules to a developer that are just, it's a service? You pay me X amount and I deliver it done. It's done for you type service. Where you know, and there's other individuals out there, you know, thinking the same thing, working along. Again, there's a lot of ways to get to that same point, and some of our models will work and some will get tuned.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's true. I think was it Buddy Rainey was a super trader. At least he did a good amount of work down in Florida at one point. I think he no longer, he sold his company.
Yeah, so, the industry's changing. Lots of new ideas, lots of ways to try, and I think right now it's where the market. If you can be efficient at your market through volume at doing it, it's getting the cost down to the right place. But I think in today's world, because of the competition, people are willing to pay a little bit more for a service. Yeah. It's done for you because a phone call and it's done eliminates so many headaches. And when you can start valuing time, when you can start assigning, I call it modular math. When I have projects that can assign a value to the speed of modular, now that just helps tilt, you know, when I pencil it, it tilts it in my direction.
I love it. I actually got to put that one up there. Can I?
You like my modular math? That is trademarked. It's modular math. We use it all the time. And
coming to a higher education facility near you. I love it. Yeah, that's good. I've not heard that one. So earlier, I was on a conference call. In fact, when we started, I was on a conference call with some architects and a modular manufacturer. And you know, and it's very true. And he made the comment, and we say this all the time: controlled cost. That's a very big equation that a lot of production builders don't have. They just have a number in there to have overcosts, right, or percentage or what have you. And I think that's the other thing, that the value that once people understand modular math, as you call it, right, that's part of it.
But budget certainty, schedule certainty. I mean, I think a lot of people, and you know, now we bleed back over to the custom home world, but custom home builders, from a customer perspective, you know, there are custom home builders I know out there, not us, but custom home builders, you know, they expect 20 to 30% of their revenues coming from change orders.
Yeah.
And we really turn that around. As a custom home builder, we have a couple home build. We may have some change orders, but that's not a typical thing. I mean, most of the work, that's the biggest thing for modular on a custom side, is so much of that decision making had to be done up front.
Right.
Whereas if you're custom home building traditionally, you're making some of the decisions, then some more later, and 3 months later you're making more. But we really push it all to the upfront because I call it the big giant whoosh. Once that house goes online, the site work's getting done. What took 4 months to get to that point takes
Right.
4 weeks to get through.
Yeah, for sure. Let's take a question. I see Rick put a question in here. Rick Hawkins, thoughts on blending of messaging of HUD? Oh, this is a good topic. All right, so this is one we should talk about, right? Because it is a hot topic. What is your thoughts on this whole cross mod push that's happening at the higher levels?
Well, I think from the MHI perspective, it was marketing genius. From the modular perspective, I think it really does. It changes what people's expect. We have a confused market already. I always tell people, the M word, the M word confuses everybody. Modular, mobile, manufactured. What they did was they took it to the next level. But what's really happening at the higher levels is now that you have the financing behind the cross mod, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, you can go get conventional loans for those products. Typically, they're being done in subdivisions right now, and it's the two of the big C's, working on this. It's but they're making changes through or Secretary Carson at HUD is with affordable housing, and you can't be against affordable housing. We do need housing in the U.S., but how does those changes in regulations negatively impact builders building to the standard code, IRC, IBC code projects? And does it give them, I'm going to say, quote, an unfair advantage into this? And obviously, again, it was marketing genius term, and the things it's triggered were going to work well for them. But what I don't want it to do is be negative for us.
Right. So, I mean, that's the whole thing. Cross-Mart is marketing genius for them doing it, but I think it's going to make it very hard for the tried and true modular volumetric builder. Now, when I say hard, it gives them one other thing they have to prove why they're different, because it's not the same product.
Well, and where my fear is the cross mod, like I say, is amazing, and is primarily being done in communities. But we talked about this just a little bit ago about it takes a long time to change an industry, and don't just think about the entire food chain around our industry. It's appraisers, it's home inspectors, it's lenders. So now you have the cross mod product. I go out, and it's usually they're doing these, I think, in subdivisions or communities. It's that person buys it. Oh, this product would have been $250,000, and I'm buying it for $150,000. I got all this equity I'm being sold. But now what happens 3 years from now, 5 years from now? I'm a move-up buyer, not a starter home buyer. I go to sell it because I have my dreams on this $400,000 house, and that appraiser comes in and says, there's a frame under this. It's a trailer. The home inspector comes in, looks at it, and says, there's a trailer, or there's a frame under this. It's a trailer. So now, even though it's technically a trailer, because of cross mod, the people thought they bought a modular. They're being told on all their appraisal papers. And I'm not saying this is going to happen, but what do you think is going to happen when this entire cycle has been trained that if it's got a frame under it, it's a trailer? And now what's the true value of it? And does it meet will it compare to other, because we don't know what'll happen 3 to 5 years from now. Right. And what I don't want to see is that affordable housing buyer who in good faith got a great starter home now get hosed 3 to 5 years from now when the cycle, the industry doesn't accept it, or potentially doesn't accept it.
Right. So we're from what because you do play at the upper echelons in the NAHB with conversations and things happening. Where are they with this whole cross mod product right now?
Well, right now it happened right when COVID came out. So there was a number of there's a subcommittee in Congress, the housing, and so there was testimony given, and in all honesty, I think, to my knowledge, it's kind of hanging right now. I don't think anything got decided with the focus on COVID and a lot of the other political things happening. Right. So I don't know, Dave, where we officially stand right now, but I know the organization, the NAHB, is now starting, and you had our past chair on last week, I think, and it's right. they're
Right.
starting. The offsite is getting embraced at the higher levels because they see it coming. I mean, we're no longer the redheaded stepchild of construction, and we are getting embraced as the future. But so it's going to be interesting to see how the industry, who we don't, if they have the MHI as the trade association for them, and we have the NAHB. How do we address this again? Because you can't be against affordable housing, but I want to be for affordable housing and not see that ultimate customer get, the future isn't and bright for them because of where appraisers and home inspectors will be.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. I agree with that. I need to learn more on it. I'm actually very interested in seeing if we can, and I spoke to Gary, maybe I'll work with Gary on this, Fleischer, about, bringing a panel together live to have this discussion. Maybe we can get Mark Yost on. I think it was Mark that spoke in front of Congress, right?
Mark Yost that gave testimony. Tom, and I think from the associations, if you got like a Devin and you got Tom Hardiman, I think there's a lot of players in this industry, and Tom is very active in the legislative side.
Yeah.
I think there's some good players. You could have a really good panel here on this subject.
We'll have a cage match. A virtual online cage match on day 55. Who would have thought I was getting into the MMA? Awesome. That's a great one. I think let's work on that. I think it would be good. I think it'd be good to have those guys on, and then have a builder like yourself on as well, to have that discussion, and bring Gary on to be a part of that too. I can have 6, I think, at a time on this show, but we can always have 10. I can keep people in, I call it in the fish tank down below, where I can bring them in and out.
The green room.
The green room, right. There's no M&Ms in my green room, though.
Darn.
Gotta get your own M&Ms.
Okay.
Gotta get your own M&Ms. All right, so we got a couple comments here. Let me go through and check out what we have. Oh, hey, Jerry's there. So I don't know if Jerry heard anything we said, but we talked nicely about you, Jerry.
All good things.
All good things. Welcome, my friend. Jim Griffin. Hey, Jim. Experience is a good teacher. I agree. George Ryman agreed. The quality of lumber required creates a high percentage of call. I've completed a complex study of lumber versus steel because of this case. Well, that'd be an interesting conversation to have, George. I'd like to talk about that a little more.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to add, but that's where you get is cost. Is we're trying to figure out, steel, what we see now doing, lake gauge steel, LGS or red steel construction. The lake gauge steel we're still seeing 15 to 30% increase in cost on projects coming out of modular factories. Right.
All right. Good. Shane McNutt. Good morning. You know Shane McNutt, Ken?
Yes. I think he follows a lot of my writing that I do.
Yeah, Nudo. They have some really cool products. Check them out. I do like Shane, and I do like what those guys are doing. All right, so I got all my comments. Modular math. Anthony Goudet. Some would say, and he was talking about Jerry, I think, on this one. Let me see. I love the quote from Ken that I have the notoriety. Well, that was nice, Jerry. What's fun? What's fun about our industry, Ken, is even though we build different things in offsite, we all seem to help each other get along, and of course make fun comments.
Yeah. Oh, I used to tell people a long time ago, when I was young, I would go to my competitors. I would put billboards across from their locations, and I've since got a little less competitive, a little bit more companion, and let's work together, guys. There's so much room in this industry for all of us to succeed that let's do it.
Right. All right. So Anthony said, say hello to Anthony Goudet here this morning. Anthony said, great insights on attainable and cross modular Ken Semler caps. All right. Thanks for the comment, Anthony. I'm just looking over here on my other screen to see if we have any other shout outs. I think we got most people. We had a lot of people following on this today, Ken. You must be liked. I don't know what it is.
It's not my face. I don't know what it is.
If you ever saw Ken and I do an interview back before we were doing live streams, it was like Goliath and David, right? We always talked about it. I need to get a box because you're so tall. We have one other person that gave us a thumbs up. I don't know if I'm going to say it right because it looks like it might be in French. Durand Matthew. That's the best it's going to get.
It's the middle of the afternoon. It's almost evening there.
Yeah. All right, everybody. If you like what you saw today, please like and share all of this. I got Jen in the background. Who? Oh, John Magna joined. Oh man, I can't forget John.
Come on, John, get him on there.
There he is. Great information. I always learn something new from Dave Cooper and Ken Semler. Man, John, you almost slipped through my fingers there, man. Sorry about that. All right. So thanks for joining us this morning, John. Please like and share this. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are live, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn 6 days a week. We have Building Modular tomorrow, Ken. You might want to tune in. You'll learn something. We're talking all about lot inspections tomorrow.
Oh, man. Well, I might be there, David. Let's see what I can learn.
Maybe I'll bring you in as a guest speaker. I'm sure you can tell us about having to take a module through a creek. We call it creek.
Yeah, we did that last week. That's what we had to do last week.
That's what you said, which I think is great. And then Tuesday, we have Steve Glenn on from Plant Prefab. Or I'm sorry, Wednesday. Tomorrow's Tuesday. Wednesday, Plant Prefab. Steve Glenn. So it's going to be a lot of fun this week. And then we're getting into the holiday weekend. So, all right, everybody. We appreciate it. Ken, you got any final words?
Guys, I'm here. I love the chat with people in the industry. Hit me up on LinkedIn. And there we are. We are all brothers in arms. Yep. Like I said, Jerry and myself, I mean, we're big, huge supporters of the industry, not just our companies. And again, if there's ways I can support you, have questions, hit me up on LinkedIn.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree, everybody. So thank you so much for tuning in. I can't add more than that. Ken, thanks for coming on. We'll have you on again here in the near future. So there you have it, everybody. Please like, share, follow, get on board, because offsite is the future. There's no two ways about it. You can either lead, follow, or get out of our way, because we are coming.
Amen.
All right, brother. We'll see you. Thanks, Ken.
Thanks.